I'm Tara Bennett, 27, a photo model who's fought tooth and nail to build my career. At our family's Labor Day picnic in Albany's Washington Park, I thought I could bridge the gap with my brother. I stood up heart-pounding and announced I'd support his big business dreams, something I'd poured my heart into helping him achieve. But then he smirked, leaned back and said, "What's to be proud of, Tara? You just show off your body for a living." My parents laughed, brushing it off as a joke. A joke. Their chuckles stung worse than his words, exposing the favoritism I'd always felt. My aunt, the only one who saw my hurt, pulled me aside after her words, a quiet anchor. I locked eyes with my brother and said, ice in my voice, "You're right, but I can make your dreams vanish." His smug grin faltered. I wasn't joking. That moment lit a fire in me, one that would unravel everything. What did I do next? How did this family drama explode? Stay tuned to find out. If you're hooked on this family mess, smash that hype button, drop a comment, and stick with me to see how I turn the tables. This all started in the days I tried to keep peace with my family in Albany. Living under one roof with my dad, my mom, and my brother in our modest home, I've spent years trying to fit into a family that always felt tilted against me. My brother, the golden child, could do no wrong. His constant mockery, calling my efforts pointless, or a waste, always slid by with a laugh from Dad or a shrug from Mom. "He's just being himself," Mom would say, her tone dismissive. Dad would nod, adding, "You know how he is." But I knew it wasn't just teasing. It was a deliberate jab, a way to keep me small while he basked in their praise. Growing up, I poured everything into being the daughter they could be proud of. I stayed up late studying, joined every school club, and helped with chores while my brother coasted. Yet he was the one they called special. When he dropped out of college to chase some grand business idea, Mom and Dad beamed, calling it visionary. If I'd done the same, they'd have called it foolish. I remember one evening when I shared a personal milestone, something I'd worked months to achieve. My brother scoffed, muttering, "Big deal. It's not like it matters." Dad chuckled, and Mom quickly changed the topic to his latest scheme. That stung. My efforts, no matter how hard-earned, were always brushed aside. My Aunt Mom's younger sister was the only one who saw through the unfairness. Aunt Pamela, sharp and no-nonsense, would show up at our house with her warm smile like a lifeline in the tension. Over tea one afternoon, she told me, "Tara, you don't need their approval to shine. You're enough." Her words were a balm, reminding me I wasn't invisible. Still, I held on to hope that I could bridge the gap with my brother. That's why I decided to help him with his latest project, a venture he'd been boasting about for months. I thought supporting him might finally earn me a place in this family, might make them see me differently. But every attempt to connect was met with his sarcasm. At one family dinner, I asked about his plans, hoping to show interest. He smirked, saying, "Why bother? You're too wrapped up in your own world." Mom and Dad laughed as if it was just another quip. I clenched my fists under the table, forcing a smile. Aunt Pamela caught my eye, her look urging me to stay strong. I held on to her support, but the constant dismissal was wearing me thin. Helping my brother wasn't just about him, it was my last shot at feeling like I belonged. I invested time and energy into his dream, even knowing he didn't value my efforts. As Labor Day approached, I saw the picnic as my chance to make things right. I'd been working hard to support my brother's venture, putting aside my doubts to focus on family unity. I spent nights planning, thinking this could be the moment we'd finally connect. Aunt Pamela noticed my effort, pulling me aside one evening. "You're doing a lot for him, Tara. Just make sure it's worth it." Her words lingered, a mix of encouragement and caution. I brushed off the unease, convincing myself this was the right move. I wanted to believe my family could come together, that my brother would see my support for what it was. I was ready to step up at the picnic, hoping it would change everything. The day of the picnic came, and I stood in the park ready to reveal what I'd been working on for my younger brother. My heart pounded as I faced our family gathered at Albany's Washington Park for our Labor Day tradition. As the older sister, I'd spent weeks planning, hoping this moment could pull us closer, despite years of tension. Clearing my throat, I announced I'm investing $10,000 in my brother's antique store. I believe in his dream. I waited for a nod, a smile, anything to show they valued my effort. Instead, my brother leaned back, his smirk sharp as a blade. "What's to be proud of, Tara?" he said, loud enough for everyone to hear. "You just show off your body for a living." His words cut deep, a public humiliation that left me reeling. Dad's loud chuckle and Mom's soft giggle followed. "He's just joking," Mom said, waving it off. "It's his sense of humor," Dad added, still grinning. Their laughter stung worse than my brother's insult, exposing the favoritism I'd always known. I stood there, face burning, their dismissal sinking in. My brother's eyes glinted with triumph, as if he'd scored a point in some cruel game. I'd poured my trust into his store, thinking it could prove I was more than their scapegoat. Instead, he weaponized it, and my parents played along. I replied coldly, "You're right, but I can make your dreams disappear." His smirk wavered, but he shrugged, turning away. Aunt Pamela, standing nearby, stepped forward, her voice sharp. "That's enough. Tara deserves better." Her defense steadied me, but the hurt was raw. As the picnic buzzed on, relatives chatted, unaware of the rift. I sat alone, his words echoing in my head, each one a fresh wound. Aunt Pamela pulled me aside, her hand firm on my shoulder. "You don't owe him anything, Tara. You're worth more than their games." Her words anchored me, but they couldn't erase the betrayal. I'd believed my investment could change how my brother saw me, how Mom and Dad saw me. Instead, they'd laughed in my face. That's when it clicked. I was done chasing their approval. My brother's antique store wasn't worth my pride. By the day's end, I'd decided I was pulling my investment. I wouldn't let him use my money to belittle me. As we packed up, I felt a shift inside. The pain was still there, but it was fueling something stronger: resolve. I'd given my brother a chance, and he'd thrown it back at me. Now I'd take back what was mine. I didn't know how he'd react, but I was ready to stand my ground. Their laughter, his cruel words, they'd pushed me too far. This wasn't just about money anymore. It was about reclaiming my worth, no matter the cost. The next morning, I sat at the dining table, opening my laptop to take back what I'd given. My resolve from the picnic hadn't wavered. My younger brother's words, the laughter from Mom and Dad, still burned in my chest, but I wasn't going to let them define me. I logged into my bank account, my fingers steady as I initiated the transfer to pull the $10,000 I'd invested in his antique store. Each click felt like reclaiming a piece of myself. By the time I hit confirm, a weight lifted, but I knew this was just the start. My brother wouldn't take this quietly. Sure enough, my phone buzzed an hour later. A text from my brother. "You're so selfish, Tara. You're ruining everything I've worked for." Selfish. After I'd believed in his dream, only to be mocked in front of everyone. His accusation stung, but it also fueled my determination. I didn't reply. Instead, I called Aunt Pamela, needing her clarity. She picked up on the first ring. "You did the right thing, Tara," she said, her voice firm. "Don't let him guilt you. You've given enough." Her words settled me, reinforcing that I wasn't wrong to stand up for myself. Aunt Pamela had always been my anchor, seeing the unfairness I'd endured for years. Later that day, I drove to meet my best friend at a coffee shop in downtown Albany. He'd been my rock since high school, always ready to listen without judgment. Over steaming lattes, I poured out the whole story: the picnic, my brother's cruel words, Mom and Dad's laughter, and my decision to pull the investment. Eric leaned forward, his brow furrowed. "Tara, you don't need to keep proving yourself to them," he said. "Your brother's out of line, and your parents enabling him is worse. Cut him off. You deserve better." His support hit hard, echoing Aunt Pamela's advice. For the first time, I felt like I wasn't alone in this fight. That night, sitting on my couch, I thought about Eric's words. Cut him off. It wasn't just about the money, it was about letting go of the need for my family's approval. Growing up, I'd chased their validation, thinking it would make me whole. every milestone I hit, every effort I made, I'd hoped they'd see me as enough. But they never did. My brother's resentment, mom and dad's favoritism, they'd built a wall I couldn't climb. Pulling the investment wasn't just a financial move, it was me saying I didn't need their recognition to know my worth. My brother sent another text, this time angrier. "You'll regret this, Tara. You're nothing without us." I stared at the screen, my heart racing, but I didn't respond. His words were meant to hurt, to pull me back into their cycle of control. But I was done. Aunt Pamela's encouragement, Eric's blunt advice, they gave me the strength to see it clearly. My family didn't define me. I'd built my life on my own terms, and I'd keep going without their approval. The money was gone, and so was my need to please them. Whatever my brother did next, I was ready to face it head on. Weeks later, Brian, my colleague, texted me about a strange rumor. My stomach dropped as I read his message. "Tara, people at the agency are talking. They say you're unstable and greedy." The words hit like a punch. I'd worked hard to build a reputation in the modeling world, and now it was under attack. Brian explained he'd overheard whispers at the agency started by my younger brother. He was spreading lies, painting me as erratic and money-obsessed to anyone who'd listen. I sat on my couch, phone in hand, trying to process the betrayal. My brother wasn't just lashing out, he was trying to ruin me. I scrolled through social media, and there it was, a post from my brother on X, veiled but vicious. "Some people will do anything for a buck, even stab family in the back," he wrote, followed by a sad emoji playing the victim. The comments piled up, strangers and mutual acquaintances chiming in with sympathy for him. My chest tightened. He was twisting the story, making it seem like I'd wronged him by pulling my investment. I wanted to fire back, to expose his lies right there, but I knew better. Reacting impulsively would only fuel his narrative. I needed a plan. Later that evening, my phone buzzed again. This time it was Dad. His message was short. "Your brother's struggling, Tara. He's trying to raise funds to save his store. Why can't you just support him?" The words stung, not because they surprised me, but because they confirmed what I'd always known: Dad would always take his side. My brother's attempt to replace the money I'd withdrawn was now a public campaign, and he was using lies about me to gain sympathy. I didn't respond. Instead, I called Eric, my best friend, who'd stood by me through this mess. "He's dragging your name through the mud," Eric said, his voice sharp with anger. "You need to shut this down, Tara. Let me help." Eric's offer sparked an idea. If my brother was playing dirty, I'd fight smart. "Can you dig into his post?" I asked. "Find anything that proves he's lying." Eric agreed, promising to look for screenshots, messages, anything that could show my brother's true intentions. I spent the night pacing my apartment, my mind racing. The unfairness of it all burned. My brother wasn't just attacking me, he was manipulating everyone around us. He'd turned my colleagues against me, used Dad to guilt me, and now played the martyr online. But I wasn't the fragile sister he thought I was. I'd worked too hard to let him tear me down. By morning, I felt a flicker of hope. Eric texted saying he'd found a lead, some old messages where my brother bragged about spinning a story to get what he wanted. It wasn't enough yet, but it was a start. I knew confronting him without solid proof would backfire. My brother was cunning, and he'd twist any misstep to his advantage. For now, I'd stay quiet, gathering what I needed to expose him. His lies had pushed me too far, and I was done letting him control the narrative. This wasn't just about protecting my reputation, it was about showing everyone who he really was. In the fall, at a fashion event in Albany, I saw my brother standing outside the venue. The downtown hall sparkled with lights, filled with the chatter of models, designers, and guests in the cool autumn air. I was there to walk the runway, but spotting my younger brother near the entrance sent a jolt of dread through me. His presence wasn't accidental. Before I could slip inside, he stepped forward, his voice loud enough to draw attention. "Tara, you've always tried to ruin me," he declared, his tone laced with fake hurt. "You sabotaged my business out of spite." Guests turned phones out, capturing the scene. My heart pounded, but I kept my composure. "That's not true," I said, my voice clear and firm. "I gave you a chance, and you betrayed me." He didn't stop escalating his act, accusing me of slandering him to anyone who'd listen. The crowd grew, their murmurs growing louder. Then I remembered the audio Aunt Pamela had sent me earlier that day. A few hours before the event, Aunt Pamela had been near the venue picking up some items for the show. She'd accidentally overheard my brother talking to a friend in the lobby, his voice low but clear. "Tara's going to regret crossing me," he said. "I'll make her look like a monster tonight." Shocked, Aunt Pamela pulled out her phone and recorded the conversation, capturing every word of his plan to humiliate me. She sent it to me immediately with a message: "Be careful, Tara. Show them who he is." Now facing him, I pulled out my phone and played the recording. His voice echoed through the crowd. "Tara's going to regret crossing me. I'll make her look like a monster tonight." Gasps rippled around us. Faces turned to my brother, his expression crumbling as his own words betrayed him. The crowd's murmurs grew, some shaking their heads, others whispering in disbelief. I locked eyes with him, my voice unwavering. "Your games are over? I'm done with you." He opened his mouth, but no defense came. The evidence was undeniable thanks to Aunt Pamela's quick thinking in recording and sending it to me. The crowd's attention shifted, some casting judgmental glances his way, leaving him exposed and alone. That night, as I sat in my apartment, Aunt Pamela called. "Tara, I heard what happened," she said, her voice warm with pride. "You stood up to him and everyone saw the truth." I told her how the recording had shifted everything, how the crowd's reaction confirmed I wasn't alone anymore. "I'm through with him," I said, my resolve unshakable. "I don't need his drama in my life." Aunt Pamela's tone softened. "You're stronger than he'll ever be, Tara. Keep shining." Her words grounded me, reminding me I'd chosen my own path. As I'd left the venue earlier, the autumn breeze felt like a fresh start. My brother's attempt to shame me had collapsed under the weight of his own words, exposed by Aunt Pamela's accidental recording. The audio was already circulating online, shared by guests who'd witnessed the confrontation, and I knew it would reach those he'd misled. I didn't need to fight his lies anymore. I'd walked away from his shadow, ready to live without his resentment dragging me down. The next summer, I left Albany, moving to Rochester to start over. The city's vibrant arts scene and quiet streets felt like a fresh canvas for my life. I rented a small apartment overlooking the Genesee River, its flow a daily reminder of moving forward. Freelancing as a model and creative consultant, I built a steady rhythm, taking on projects that sparked joy instead of chasing approval. My work brought me closer to Aunt Pamela and Mom, who were collaborating on a boutique fashion line. I pitched in with design ideas, sketching patterns late into the night, their encouragement fueling my confidence. For the first time, I felt grounded in my own choices, free from the weight of my family's expectations. One evening, while scrolling through my emails, I saw a notification from a crowdfunding platform. It was my brother launching a desperate campaign to save his antique store. The message was dripping with self-pity. "Betrayed by those closest to me, I need your help to keep my dream alive." I recognized the jab, but it didn't sting. His words were a fading echo, not a chain pulling me back. I didn't respond. Aunt Pamela, who'd seen the campaign too, texted me. "He's grasping at straws, Tara. Let him face his own mess." She was right. My brother's attempt to rally support fell flat. Few donated, and the comments were sparse, tinged with skepticism. His reputation, tarnished by his own actions, couldn't carry him anymore. Weeks later, I heard through a mutual acquaintance that his store had closed. Without my investment and with his credibility in tatters, he'd run out of options. Part of me expected to feel guilt, but none came. Instead, I felt a quiet relief. His failure wasn't my burden. For years, I'd tried to prove myself to him, to Mom, to Dad, thinking their validation would make me whole. But every effort had been met with dismissal or resentment. The truth hit me, and Rochester's calm self-respect didn't come from convincing others of my worth. It came from refusing to let their lack of respect define me. Working with Aunt Pamela and Mom deepened that lesson. Aunt Pamela, always my fiercest ally, shared stories of her own struggles, reminding me that strength meant choosing who deserved my energy. Mom, though distant in the past, softened in our collaboration, her pride in my designs unspoken but clear in her eyes. We didn't dwell on old wounds, focusing instead on the work we loved. Those moments, filled with creativity and mutual respect, showed me what family could be: supportive, not suffocating. My brother's absence from that picture was a choice I made without regret. One quiet afternoon, as I sat by the river, my phone buzzed with another message from my brother. "Tara, we need to talk." It read, a last-ditch attempt to pull me back into his world. I deleted it without a second thought. Cutting him off wasn't just about protecting myself, it was about embracing the life I'd built. Rochester had become my sanctuary, a place where I thrived without his shadow. My freelance gigs were picking up, my designs were gaining traction, and my heart felt lighter than ever. I didn't need his approval or anyone's to know I was enough. Looking back, I saw the arc of my journey clearly. Every jab, every lie, every moment I'd doubted myself had led me here, to a life defined by my own terms. Self-respect, I realized, was the quiet power of walking away from those who refused to see my value. I'd spent too long trying to prove myself to people who'd never truly see me. Now, surrounded by those who did, I was free. As the sun set over the river, casting gold across the water, I knew I'd won, not by defeating my brother, but by choosing myself.